I love that that is going to be on the very first second you start this video when I send it over.
Oh,
your,
what, the coffin?
your coffin, yeah.
Oh, no.
Absolutely perfect. But yes,
Oh,
we are officially recording.
brilliant. Just before we start as well, I'll count us in like normal, but should I do a timer thing? Like we did before, we do like 10 minutes of talking,
It did
and
help.
then the timer. Yeah, I found that 5 minutes,
Mm,
not a 5 minute break, but a short break in
mm,
between sections was actually really good for us.
mm,
I shall set that now. So for the first bit, I shall give us a 5 minute timer just for the introduction.
mm. Sure.
Right, three, two, for that. Three, two, one. Good afternoon, and welcome to Old World Magic Presents Magic Across the Ages. My name's Brandon, the host of Old World Magic, and I'm here with my good colleague, Love. Please introduce yourself, Love.
Hi, I'm Lord.Cairnmark on most social media, but you could just call me Lord or Cairnmark. That's absolutely fine.
Brilliant. Thank you, Love. So, myself, I'm a Master of Students in Heritage, focusing and specialising in all things magic, myth, and folklore. We have done a previous episode on Griffin, so go and check that out. It's a wonderful episode. Love, I know you're a specialist in this subject as well, much more clued up than I am, I would say.
Thank you. That's all I
So,
have to
in
say.
today's episode, we're going to be talking about a little bit about what magic actually is. Just it tends to change per what era you're in.
Mm,
So it means something completely different at the beginning of time to what it means in modern time.
mm,
We're then going to talk about magic in prehistory, if it's even called magic. We're talking about sort of magic in antiquity. And then Love's going to take us on a little talk about magic with the early church, so Anglo Saxons, through to the witchcraft trials. And then I'm going to lead a discussion on 20th century magic and their groups and characters. And then we're going to kind of have a little bit of a joint discussion about modern magic and end up there. There will be a reading list when I post this on Substack, so make sure you do look out for that. But other than that, let's get right into it. So, looking at prehistory, I found it very interesting. So, first of all, my main thing, starting again, I completely skipped a section about
oh, really? Okay.
about what magic actually is.
Mm, right.
So I'll reset the timer.
We're getting sick.
Maybe. So I spent a lot of time with my Mrs. parents, and they've come down ill. My
Oh,
missus has
shit.
started to come down ill, and now we're coming down ill, which isn't great considering our stag and hen weekend is next weekend.
Oh, shit. Okay. Have fun with
So
that one.
yeah.
You will
Um,
be forced out anyway, just so you know.
oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, we're all staying at an Airbnb. I'm not losing that money.
no, yeah, yeah, fair.
Right. So starting again on what magic means. I've given us 10 minutes. If we don't use it, that's completely fine.
we will use it.
Three, two, one. So, what is magic? What does it mean? Now, it's a very hard thing to define magic. In all the books I read, everybody has their own slightly different definition. And there was some quotes I really found that really summed it up, in my opinion. And one of those was that trying to find a definition for magic is a maddening task. Now, it's a good thing for me and Love here that we're already mad, so it doesn't make much of a difference to us.
Yep.
But it does ring true. There's no one set definition, and whatever time you're looking at, magic is completely different. And there was another quote that really summed it up, which was each definition of magic is a product of its own time, which really does ring true when you read the accounts of history, when you read someone like Pliny the Elder, and then you read Julius Caesar's, and you read someone like Aleister Crowley,
Mm.
hundreds and hundreds of years later. It really does ring that bell. What would you say magic is, Love?
Absolutely undefinable because like when you look through cultures and histories and everything, like yeah, sure, there's named for it. Some people call it heka, some people call it magic, some people call it the veil, some people call it weaving. whatever. Like they have different names, but they don't really define it in that sense. Like there's myths, legends, histories, and nothing is really pinpointing the true science of magic in that sense. Like you can't really define it in such a sense. So yeah.
I I think one thing we can say though is that me and you both know, whether people believe it or not, is that magic is as old as science. Magic is as
Mm,
old as religion, if not slightly older. As soon as people and humans had the ability to think, magic was a thing.
mm,
And this is very much seen in prehistory magic. So going into the first subject, the first thing I will say is prehistory magic isn't really a term. For prehistory, the term I would use and the term I found is more ritual practice. It's not that ideas that people believed in magic. These are still hunting gatherers people. They're people who
mm,
saw the earth surrounded by elements, by spirits, and
mm.
by things that they could hopefully invoke and gain advantage over. So
Yeah.
one of the things I'm going to show here, very first of all, is a red deer headdress.
Interesting.
Let me just
Interesting.
figure out how to share screen. There we go.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, is that a
So there
mask?
you,
Lovely.
it is. It's a headdress. So during prehistory time, obviously being a hunting gatherers people, the animals and the hunts are what it was all about. And for some people, who they called shamans, they were the idea and the so-called wizards of the day, the witches of the day, people who could connect with these spirits, who could travel into a spirit world and communicate. They would wear headdresses like this. Now, for anybody who's wondering what I'm looking at, it is on the British Museum. It is a red deer headdress, and it's perfectly well preserved. It's a stunning bit of kit, and it's something that you don't see very often. There are not many of these from the prehistoric time. But essentially, a shaman would go into a trance either by eating something he should have done or shouldn't have done, or chanting, have a rhythmatic drumming, anything like that that would put him into a trance. He would be wearing this so he would be more animalistic and be able to communicate with these animals. And the idea for this was that essentially, if he can communicate with the animals, his people would have a better hunt. They'd have more success and bring in more meat and more tools and furs and any resources that they would need. Have you got anything to add on the shamanism side of things, love?
Um, Not necessarily the shamanism, but the prehistoric idea. I mean, it's one thing to name it and call it ritualistic things, but it's another thing to kind of look at it as an observational science. You can look at it from when they start to finally noting the stars, when or where they are. Obviously, the sun comes up, the sun goes down, and everything like that. Everything turns very observational when you start noticing, oh hey, every time I do this works. Literally, you can see that in sports today. Like obviously I have my lucky shirt on, that's why my team is going to win. Like that observational skill was used even back then. Anytime the deers moved, anytime the stars moved, anytime I did this fire, like all of that is observational, and it's so beautiful in that sense. So yeah, that's what I wanted
It,
to add.
amazing. Well, thank you. I
Yes.
also have found, so I found this really interesting. That obviously it wasn't all about hunting and gathering. We have found plenty amounts of Venus figures as well. So that's all about fertility
Mm,
and magic around fertility. And it's believed that they would have sort of believed in a sort of mother figure.
mm. I
And then
recently read that some academic books call it milk gods or goddesses anytime there's a maternal or a caretaking being. So, for example, while it's a strange take, obviously Venus, Aphrodite, and all of those naturally, but Tyr, for example, in Norse, the god of war, he didn't want war, he wanted peace. So, therefore, he is also classified as a milk god, which is really strange.
well, I mean, even for Tyr, for my rendition of the Fenrir story about Fenrir being chained, he was quite caring towards
Yes,
Fenrir.
everyone trusted him after all. He wanted peace, not war. That's why he was god of war. He loved it. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that note in there.
Something I also found quite interesting was that there was quite a lot of magic around death and ritual practice around death. in terms of, so there was one case I was reading about in the ghost case in Somerset where incisions were found on bones, and it indicates that the early people may have engaged in ritual cannibalism. Now there you go. You've got not the same thing as you there. Like, um, yeah, you don't nibble down on the bones, love. You're all good.
I'm vegan, I promise.
But it's believed that the aim of this would have been to acquire the power of the dead, or to prevent their spirits from inflicting damage on the living, which is really quite interesting. These are people who don't have an understanding of what comes next, or
Mm,
like a proper questioning of what comes next,
mm,
but they feared that their spirits would come back.
yes.
But just cutting it there for a second. This will make you laugh, love. You know when they say you're getting into your work too much?
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream about this cannibal goat last night.
Oh God, that is too much.
Not like it wasn't a nightmare. Do you know what it was? It was like they had come through to the modern world,
Right?
and I was doing their admin.
Naturally, because what else?
and, and their organisation was really bad, and no one was turning up when they should have been. And
Like, anyone coming up next? No? Okay. No, sorry, you were not next in line. That's insane.
oh,
I love that.
yeah, it was just so odd. It's like I wasn't putting them down for the cannibalism. That didn't bother me. It was
Obviously.
just it was just.
Naturally. No, no, not a problem. Not for you. No, no.
I've always said I try everything once.
Oh, God. I mean, after cannibalism is literally just picking at your nails as well. So,
Well, I do that, so definitely, yeah, I'm
yeah,
part of
you're
that. Then.
halfway there.
I'm halfway there. God, we should have left that in the podcast. That would have been hilarious.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you can, I can still post this raw material on YouTube so everyone can watch it anyway.
I'll go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck
Please
yeah.
do. Right, cutting back in. I'll finish up with the prehistory, and then we shall look at finish up the prehistory, and then we shall go into antiquity.
Yes.
How long have we been going so far?
For the recording, I have 12 minutes.
No, that's not too bad at all. That's good.
No,
We keep
honestly,
going.
it was shorter than I imagined.
Brilliant. Well, I say it's a very general overview.
Yeah, yeah, true that.
Cutting back in. 3, 2, 1. So another thing with prehistory, obviously we've gone over death, we've gone over shamans, we've gone over their sort of fertility figures. But another thing that obviously we've slightly covered on was how animalistic and how much people wanted to be in connection with the spirits of the animals. You've got these people that have just come into thinking, making thought, understanding this world, and for them, it's the animals that's all around them.
Mm.
It's the spirits that's all around them. So obviously, you see this in plenty of caves with lots of cave art, and there is one in France. I've got a picture of here. I'll just share my screen as well.
Classical French people.
So I will absolutely get this name completely wrong, but it's Lasquets.
That is an absolute fucking butcher, good sir. Not that I can say that I can pronounce that any better, but I know that ain't right.
No, but it's up there. So it's a very famous cave in southern France that has over hundreds and hundreds of depictions of animals on the wall. I think from when I last researched, there was just nearly over 900
Oof.
images of animals.
Damn. Okay. Cool.
And for them, this wasn't only their way of trying to connect and get a better understanding and connection with the spirit world, but this is how they left their stories in the earth. This is who they were as a people. This is what mattered to them.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving this sort of prehistory, very overview, and this was what this episode would be all about. It's a very general overview on the history of magic and how it changes.
Mm.
But I leave it with a very overview that one, it's not called magic, it's more ritual practice for prehistory. And it's all about the environment and the spirits around you rather than it being for any sort of personal reason. It's not about personal gain, it's
Mm.
about the gaining of the clan that you're in, the gaining of the group you're in. You want to succeed as a group so you can all live and survive as a group.
Yeah.
Cap.
That is gonna be absolutely hilarious when I just post this to YouTube. People are like, "Why the fuck did you
Oh
cut
yeah,
that? Nothing is
true.
cut."
True. You have to put in the description that this is for a podcast as well.
Yes, I unedited. Don't worry about it.
So I've got a little bit on
And I
antiquity. So
do
obviously,
think it's pronounced something closer to la coup.
well, thanks now, mate.
Yeah,
We've
you're
got over
welcome. I
that.
just really wanted you to get that ruined in there.
Oh,
I just really
thanks.
wanted you to be embarrassed a little bit. Now that you know it as well.
It's fine. All my listeners know I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Though.
I had to pronounce in a presentation some Mexican cities the other day. That was fun.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mika kakwa la tlelal. Okay, sure.
You're already doing better than me, mate.
I mean, the Mexican fucking myths and legends is my absolute favorite, but Mictag Tutluatl is not an easy thing to say in a quick notice.
No. Good news and other things. I might also be going to present that Griffin's sort of podcast as a talk next year. Maybe
I
we've
like
got to
that.
see.
I like
It's in a local history society, but they've offered that they've asked if I would be interested. And I said, well, here's the kind of work I do. Do you think you'd be interested? And they're having a review of it.
They're like, nah, we might reconsider.
Yeah. Well, the only
Yeah.
issue is usually it's local to the village they live in. Like the matter is local, but obviously the history of Griffins isn't very local, unfortunately, to them.
No, it's also no. I can't imagine honestly.
But yeah. So when it comes to antiquity, it's been really annoying to just have to stick to the UK and to Europe because I've had to cut out Egypt, I've had to cut out Mesopotamia.
That is a bit sad, honestly.
Exactly.
Mesopotamia.
Um,
Oh.
but I say next series, next
Yeah.
episode, next series, next season, it gives people something to come back for.
Yes. We need keep that in the podcast though. So like next time,
Oh, I
so
will,
that we actually
absolutely.
get some some listeners to that.
But what I have done is, so when talking about ancient Greece, I've talked about death and necromancy.
Mm.
I mean, talking about Rome, I've kind of gone into, well, Greece and Rome, I've kind of gone into together. But a bit about necromancy, a bit about how it becomes more human based, more personal, rather than community.
Yeah.
And sometimes, some of these rituals have become privatized rather
Yep.
than public.
Yeah, a bit culticized, but close enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I've got that there. So I've talked about how necromancy is even in some of the stories. So the tales of Odyssey. Odyssey, thank you.
Yes.
That was it. Odysseus, yes.
I mean, they had to go
And
down into the underworld as well to speak to the oracles and stuff like that, which is all in all, anytime the underworld is mentioned in anything, I literally just consider it necromancy, to be honest.
yes, me too. So I've done that with, and obviously mentioned the story of Odysseus. Odysseus, yep, going to the witch Circe for necromancy rites to get advice.
Xirxe, depending on how you pronounce it.
What was that, sorry?
No, I'm not gonna say that again.
I've then gone into how a lot of the modern day rituals were forms of ancient rituals, so like touch wood, throwing a coin in a water fountain, so and go into how magic had everyday uses, talking a little bit how in the Roman period, children used to wear ballers, a baller pendant, which had protective charms in, and I have got a picture of that as well. I'll get the picture of that out right now.
Lovely. Are you gonna go through how it became like a daily practice to just thank the house goddess as well? Like Hestia was the early one, but then Dionysus kind of became the thing in Greek practice as well. Because let's be honest, the god of the people is fairly important when we talk about general life, really.
Well, I haven't got anything down like that, love. So you can come in, my friend, and tell us about
I can do that. I can absolutely do that. Yeah.
I have got a little bit about how.
Is that jade? Beautiful.
It's stunning, isn't it? A really nice one. Who knew the British Museum had all this lovely stuff from
I
across the
wonder where they
world?
got it from. I mean, they're just borrowing it, right? It's just borrowing, right?
They'll send it back eventually.
Eventually, undetermined time.
Look, the whole of Greece could just go up in a ball of fire, and if we ever send it back, we might lose it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Who knows?
I've got a little bit on the some of the ancient cults and how, as you say, rituals start to become cultists,
Yeah.
or become a thing of cults. I've got the Italian cult of Dionysus, the cult of Magna Mater,
Yeah.
and the occult of the Egyptian goddess Iris.
Iris is the one. Oh shit. Uh, May. May. No, she's just about to leave with the dogs. God dang it.
That's all right.
Too late.
I might leave that one out. I'm already going to slaughter a lot of names. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
and then I go into Druidism in the UK, in Britain, and how it was Britain, even in Gaul, across Gaul in Europe, Britain was considered the home of Druids.
Yes.
Brilliant.
It's going to be
So,
interesting how you take on the Druids because people mainly think it's an Irish thing.
well, yeah, we'll get there when we get there. You can't see me doing the things, the thumbs up. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
So, cut them back in. 3, 2, 1. So, moving on to our next subject is magic in the age of antiquity. Now, for season 1 of this podcast, so all 7 episodes, including the Griffin one, I do want to stay primarily Europe and UK based. That does mean, unfortunately, we cut out a good deal of important antiquity magic, such as Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and all that sort of stuff. But don't worry, it is coming in season 2. So it just means you've got to keep coming back and keep listening, and I promise we will get there. The aim for this is we'll travel the entire world talking about magic across it.
On the
But
next
getting straight
season.
into it. Yeah, exactly. On next season, exactly.
Yes.
Now, getting into it, I wanted to look at ancient Greece and Rome in a particular way. So, one of the things I've always been interested in is what some people consider dark magic. So, I quite like necromancy and any magic around death. Now, I found it quite interesting that in ancient Greek and Rome, necromancy isn't dark magic. It's just a form. So for some, it's a form of divination, and you can even find it in the hero's tales. So in the tales of
Odysseus? The Odyssey?
thank you. So in the tale of Odysseus, he goes to Circe and asks for advice. So they perform a necromantic rite to get this advice. Now, really interestingly, the way that necromancy and divination works in ancient Greek and Rome is that it was believed that spirits were not of our existence. When I say were spirits, they existed outside of time. So therefore, they could see the past and the future. Now, one of my favorite quotes I found was, "You have to do necromancy fairly quickly because people don't stay dead for long." Then that's the idea that once you've died, you spend a little bit of time in the
Afterlife, underworld.
underworld. Thank you.
Yeah.
A little bit. You spend a little bit of time in the underworld, and then after a while, you actually come back to the living. Obviously, forgetting all your past experience and life. But it was a common form of divination, and it was believed that if you wanted to do it, you have to be as quick to death as possible. So, say someone had just died, you need to be really quick to get their spirit. Just before you know it, they were back again as another life. Now, now, starting again. This is going to be a really horrible YouTube video, mate.
People's gonna fucking love this, don't you worry.
Now, cutting back in. Three, two, one. Now, for us, we have this very set image of the underworld, of hell, what this horrible place is going to look like for us. But in ancient Greek, philosophers thought that the underworld was a grey, sterile place, a place that was cool, passionless, and outside of time. You wouldn't have any of that pent up anger you had as a person. It'd be a place to reflect on your life, the things you did, and how you lived it. But as I say, you don't stay dead for too long, so you come back up again. Who would use magic? Now, there were set people who would use magic, and exactly, they're like love here, and I need to practice myself. I haven't done much of it recently, but you could be a witch or a wizard, and you could be someone who was naturally inclined with the gift or talent, but that also didn't mean you couldn't learn it. This was a time where people were educating themselves on it. They were learning it. You just because you didn't have a talent didn't mean you could learn it. It's a bit like everything now. You have to practice to be good at it. You okay, love?
My cat is summoning demons. Don't mind it.
Well, it might not be summoning demons. It might be doing a bit of ancient Greek or Roman necromancy.
Yeah, or regular rituals, as I've heard it's called as well.
Now, cutting back into who would have used magic, it would have been an everyday thing as well. It wasn't these once a blue moon kind of rituals. It was people were using magic all the time. Some of our most modern phrases, catchphrases we use, like touch wood, for example, was believed to be a invocation to the woodland god Pan, asking him to break a curse or spell. Throwing a coin into a water fountain for us is good luck, but for the ancient Roman Greeks, it is the idea that you would throw it to appease the water deity in it.
Mm.
These things were of every day. They weren't so unused like they are now. They aren't so unheard of. It was a bit of everyday life. You plant an acorn, it grows into a tree. That was magic for these people. Now, I know some people will just say it's science and that they just hadn't discovered it yet. But I still think there's things in the universe that are undiscovered that science can't explain.
Mm.
And what else is it?
Yeah, honestly, quantum physics really agrees with you there. There are several things we don't know about, but we know works, but shouldn't.
There's a quote I really like, and I think I've said it to you before. Magic are just things that science is too young to understand.
Love that. Truly, truly love that.
It's not dis-
Poetic.
it's not disproving either. That's not what this channel is about. We're not
Mm.
about disproving anything. We believe in science and we believe in magic,
Mm.
and religion as well. So they're things that should all work together. Now, moving on, it wasn't all about death in these times. It was also all about protection and charms. We spoke a little bit in the Griffin episode about griffins being placed on the as an image on children's sarcophagi
Yes.
as a sign of protection. Now, another thing that these children would have had to would have wore were what I have up on the screen here. It's called a Bula pendant, and these would have had ancient charms and spells written within them to protect the children, to keep them protective and keep away any curses. It's also where you start to see the idea of the protection from the evil eye come in.
Mm.
Now, I know when we were talking earlier, love, you mentioned a little bit about household gods. Would you like to
Yes.
go into that for me?
So, when it comes to regular magic and everything like that, like wishing wells and all that beautiful things, there was also a common thing to just say thank you for on your daily life to your regular house goddess, or if you are a follower of a specific god. But usually, for example, in Greece, we had, first of all, Hestia, the goddess of fire and the goddess of the people. She kind of got dethroned. She did not really mind that whatsoever when Dionysus came along and was more or less the god of the people and parties, whoop whoop. But there was a lot of people that had a little altar at their homes with a little fire, a candle. Like they didn't have electricity back then. Obviously, there was fire. Hestia, goddess of fire, goddess of people, brought heat and kindness and familiarity to any regular household. So it just became a regular life to just say thank you and then moved on with life kind of thing. So yeah.
And that's great, thank you, love, because that leads into the next point I was going to talk about, which is how magic, even though still being done at public temples, started to become a more personal thing. Rather than it being communal, started to become personal, sometimes for personal gain, or sometimes, as you were just saying, for thanks, for gifts, for advantages. But as just after it became a personal thing, I would do magic for me rather than anybody else. And you see this in some of the ways that these rituals turn. So some of these rituals start becoming more privatized and only elite groups could do them. Some of them were sort of more open to the public, but not as many. And this led to the turn of cults in terms of cultural in cults and their rituals. So a few that I've got down here are the Italian cult of Dionysus, the cult of Magna Mater, the coat of Minfrathus. You have to pronounce.
Yes.
You have to give my pronunciation. And that one tends to come from sort of Persian beliefs. But you have these people turning to private cults so they can practice and they can be involved in these rituals. Now, something I find really interestingly is that for the cult of Minthras, it emerged about the first century, and it's mainly known because its main ritual was called tauroctony, which was bull sacrifice, and its blood symbolised purist and rebirth. So a lot of their imagery has obviously got bulls in, as in with the big horns,
Right.
the the cow idea of a bull.
Right. Now I get it. Cool. Thank you.
Oh, I explained that.
Seeing that English is not still my first language, I'm like, balls? Okay, sure.
Now, all of these cults and this idea kind of very much become suppressed in the sort of fourth century when the Roman Empire became Christian or started to become more Christian. But something that's really interestingly, and we'll go into very quickly now, is the Celts and the original British that the original starting that again. I didn't like the term original British. That could be used against me.
Yes, that was a spicy one. Also, hi YouTube people who knows the spicy terms original British now.
I'm not like that. I promise. I'm not one of those.
Sure, sure, sure. You love what the NHS is doing right now, aren't you? No.
I've got my whole argument with them. We won't get into that.
No, yeah, fair enough.
um, no, so cutting back into it. 3, 2, 1. So something that's also really interestingly is that as obviously the Roman Empire become more Christian, these sort of pagan roots become more hidden, sort of become a thing of the past for some people. But in the UK, we have the Celts, and they have such a rich collection of myth and magic in their society. It's really quite interesting. The issue we have with this is that it was largely an oral society. So there aren't many written down records, and the only records we do have are from famous Greek or Roman authors. So there's records by Julius Caesar, there's records by Pliny the Elder, but there's still across all of them the idea that the UK was the centre of Druidism. Even in Gaul, people would travel over here. In Ireland, people would travel over to the UK. It was this centre of where Druidism began. But really interestingly, the image we have of a Druid now doesn't necessarily ring true to the image they had of Druids back then. We considered Druids these really mystical and magical beings, and they were mystical, but they weren't as magical. They were more poets and bards, and they were advisors. They were more wise men and sages,
That is
rather
also, I would like to point out, that is also if you are on social media and everything like that, if you do know about the cult of the bards that are active even today, even though they do have a fairly small following, you would probably not know about these mystical beings, the wise, smart men who people come to ask about advice. Social media is not giving that druid idea anymore.
and And this is where Druids lose their hold, because that's what they're all about. They're all about telling stories, and
Mm.
yeah, again, it's one of those things of telling people who they are, the histories through stories and poems. And there is a group that's still active now, which is the Ovates, Bards, and let me quickly search that up.
Naturally, yes. I think Queen Elizabeth was the last royalty in the British Isles that was initiated by the cultivars. I think so. That's
Oh,
never going to happen again. I think. Don't take me too seriously on that, but I think.
well, keep that in. That's good to keep in. Well, we'll redo that. We won't keep that bit in, but we'll do it.
No, cut it in.
Right.
I don't have any academical stature on that one.
3, 2, 1. So there are even Druid orders that are still around now. So the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Poets are still running to this day, and they're quite a big organisation in the UK. And this is what gets lost in social media. Social media paints this very magic heavy idea of Druids. It doesn't help with the image of Merlin, and that gets brought in with Druidism as well, and that's not true at all. But what Druids are in the Roman depictions are people who want a better understanding of nature. They try to connect with nature. They worship in sacred groves, and they basically just want to be one with nature. They are said to hold their power from mistletoe, where they said they've been said to be their mystical branch, but they did have their own language as well, a tree language, which I found very cool. And certain animals held sort of certain symbolism and imagery for them. One of my personal favourites, and one of my favourite animals in general, is the bear.
Mhm.
Now, I'm a big fan of a bear. I love the animal bear, but it's also where the symbolism for Arthur comes from.
Hmm.
So the original translation uh, for where is it? Starting again. I do have it written down.
It's written down here somewhere. I promise people. You gotta trust me.
It's in my 30 pages of notes.
Yes, okay, fine.
Uh,
Do shake those papers around just for the effect a little bit, for the ASMR. There we go, thank you. There you go, YouTube people.
yeah, jumping back in. 3, 2, 1. So one of my favourite animals itself is kind of revered in Britain. I'm a big fan of the bear, and it's got very heavy symbolism for it being able to be a symbol of great strength and ferocity, but also it being admired and being believed in.
Hmm.
So the actual name Arthur arrives from the Celtic word for bear, which is art.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Now, a fun little fact for you: Charlemagne himself did not like bears. He considered them a sign of the devil.
Naturally, honestly, I mean, give it to an holy emperor to say, I'm not vibing that. Ugh,
Now, obviously, we know that the Romans and the Greeks didn't take too well
no,
to the Druids.
no.
They kind of come across with this high ground, the moral high ground, that they think that they're better than the Druids. They're more civilized, and started to really paint them in a really barbaric way, just so then they can annihilate the Druids,
Yeah,
as the Romans do,
yeah.
for conquer and conquest. But there's a quote from Pliny the Elder that really rings true: is that even today, Britain still Britain is still bound by magic and performs rites with so much ritual that she might almost be seen the source to Persian rituals,
Hmm.
which is he's sort of saying that the rituals here are so full of lore, so full of passion, and so full of magic that he sort of believes that Druidism in the early ages of Britain and the UK were really the centre.
Hmm.
And this gets put across in all the accounts, in terms of Julius Caesar and through Pliny, is that, as I said, that Britain is the centre of Druidism. People travelled here, and it
Mm,
really does just get ringed forward and true
mm,
through the
mm.
belief.
I
Free.
would like to counter that in all honesty, but in Druidism, absolutely, as the word Druidism for sure. But there are practices out there that are, for example, very nature dear. For example, Kemeticism. If you were to look into any mythos or any stories or any practice from Kemeticism, it's all highly observational, and it's literally the same: how the sun rolls up, what the scarab does with the sun, and like all of it is so well detailed. Like you can technically draw the similarities from Druidism to Kemeticism. The difference here between Druidism and Kemeticism is gods, because Kemeticism had gods and Druids did not. They worked for nature, not with nature, while Kemeticism, they had gods they worshipped, and they worked with nature and not necessarily for nature in that sense.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I always love a disagreement. That's what this is all
Yes,
about. It's
yes.
about talking and discussing, and we both know different things. That's
Yeah,
what this
but
podcast
as I said,
is
it's
all
not
about.
necessarily a disagreement. It's just, as far as the word Druidism absolutely goes, I would agree 100%. I mean, the British Isles are the very center, and the Gaul Empire kind of just centered eventually up to the British Isles. But when it comes to the nature science of mysticism and everything like that, one could dispute.
Absolutely, we love a
um,
dispute. Love. That's what this
yeah,
is all about.
yeah.
Um, but that paints truth and magic. This is what magic is all about.
Mm.
There are so many beliefs and
Yes.
ideas and spiritualistic places that magic is so alike
Mm.
in places, but it's just got, as you said, it's just got tiny differences, but it's very alike. It's essentially the same book with a different cover and
Yes.
a few different details, and that's what I love about magic. Though it's everywhere.
Mm.
It's not just located in one place. Magic
Yes.
is across the world. Like even in, so I know we're not talking about the rest of the world in this season,
Mm.
but
Mm.
even in like Japan, they had an ancient in their ancient history, they had a ministry of magic.
Yes, yes, they did, which is so funky to me.
It's
I mean, I
cool.
love any Japanese mysticism, in all honesty, but yes, it's so fucking strange.
But yeah, it's just one of those places that it connects everybody.
It does. It's
Now,
magical, if you would humor me.
exactly. It's magical. Cut. Brilliant.
Yes.
God. Last time I said it was magic. Last time I said something was magical, my friends haven't stopped bullying me since.
Oh shit. Sorry.
That's,
It
that's
will
why
continue. I cannot help that.
it was. I went to see. I know. I hold my hand up. Not my type of music, but Zoe loves Taylor Swift.
Fair. Yeah.
So I went to a Taylor Swift concert
Mm.
with her, and the atmosphere was amazing. Like everybody was so happy. There was a really special atmosphere,
Mm.
and I said to my friends it was magical, and they
Fuck.
haven't let it go since.
God dang. I can see it though. I can see it. I would do the
Yeah.
same. I would do the exact same as your friend. So it's absolutely fair. You gave that one for free.
Now, now, whenever I do anything, and I say I really enjoyed that, they go, "Oh, was it magical?"
Oh, God. Was it magical though? Was it
it,
magical?
it it was a real spectacle, my friend.
Spectacle now. Huh? Okay. Close enough. I would say that's synonymous to magical. So yeah, no, it was fairly
Yeah.
magical.
Oh,
Yes. Anyway.
there you go. Stop sharing.
Yep.
So we're going to cut back in a second, and you're going to take us away. I'll introduce the subject, but you're going to take us away with Anglo-Saxon all the way into witchcraft, my friend, and the trials. And
Yes.
I might have a thing or two to say as we go as well. I might ask
Yes,
questions.
if you like to, you can start specifically going into the Anglo-Saxon thing, and then I can take it away from the Anglo-Saxon into Germany, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't got anything down for it, so
I mean, I
there's nothing
think the
to
thing
go
is,
to.
I think you know a little bit more about Anglo-Saxon stuff than I do, if you do.
I've got no claim.
Okay, in that case, I'll fucking take it away. That's absolutely fine. Don't you worry. Cool.
I spent, I've spent the last 3 days making pages on antiquity, prehistory, and 20th
Okay,
century.
it's cool. I did say I was gonna take this one away, so I'm gonna take this one away.
All right, so we'll cut back in three, two, one. So moving forward from the age of antiquity, we're now going into the sort of the early church and Anglo-Saxons, and Love's going to take us away here. And I might ask a few questions as we go. So go for it, Love.
Lovely. So early church, we are practically arguing somewhere close to early 1100s to later maybe 1600s ish, and we are specifying a little bit into the British to the very start of this. We can kind of notice how the early church obviously starts with a lot of preaching. We get a lot of people who travel across country like, yes, this is Christianity, this is Jesus, this is the good word, and so on and so forth. You can see how Christianity and the early church really changes culture in so many spaces. And one of the really like very tangible things that you can see is when the British preachers comes alongside the Danish, Norwegian, Swedish borders, and they start preaching the good word of God and everything like that. And for any Thor loving person out there with a good electrical hammer at hand, you can kind of see how the necklaces actually start morphing into the Christian cross because they one wanted to hide that they were, I mean, Norse pagans, and they some of them actually wanted to say that they were Christian because they believed in something gooder. What what these people didn't know later on in later 1400s, a very loving person named Dante came along and wrote about hell for the first time. So that became a nice, good shock for most Christian people 300 later. But you can, like, that tangible change from paganism for a lot of people, you can see that in the crosses, which is absolutely stunning. It's early hammers and the necklace was very crude. It was very blacksmith-esque. And when the Christianity came in, it became more ornate, it became more thinner, and it morphed into hammer being down here, and then it all of a sudden turned up, and now it's a cross, suddenly. Um, Alongside that, when we're also talking about how kind of Christianity blew up, obviously the written text blew up. It's a lot often due to Christianity that we can kind of see the printed word. The Romanized letters and everything like that, it obviously got interchanged all over the place. And alongside that, naturally comes a name very famous, and I would argue, in my own bias, bigot, Kramer. If I'm allowed to say that in the pod, there you go, Brando, but it is what it is. He writes The Hammer of the Witches in the 1400s. Him alongside another very famous Catholic man. Yes, he definitely only used a famous Catholic man, which I'm not going to name, just for funsies, to really push this idea about witches, that witches are bad. And literally, what that whole book was all about was literally women are bad. If they do this, if they have this, if they have done anything like that, witch, they should be burned. And all of a sudden, it's not necessarily. I mean, sure, they do have some techniques in the book on how to handle a witch, but it kind of gets out of hand later on. What's difficult with the printed word? Obviously, we are talking about 1400s here. Not a lot of people could read in the 1400s, especially not, let's call them the peasants. The regular home had a very difficult time reading, but we can know that around 1489 that it was very common for the book to be in the common household. Later on, 1500 comes along, witch hunts starts, it gets worse. Even Kramer, by the Pope, gets this announced. No, wait, what's it called? This disowned from his priesthood because he was such a bigot that even the Pope was like, "Whoa, hold on! Did you see what you created?" Anyway, witches are bad, but you did it the wrong way. So he gets disclaimed of everything, but the book keeps pushing. And then we get into the 1500s, 1600s, and the biggest witch burnings and everything like that. We were talking about Salem, for example, in the Americas, but here in Europe, we're talking about Germany and Britain. They had the absolute worst ones. The biggest art pieces is from Spain and France, but oof, we're talking just about hundreds, thousands of people, whereas 80% of that, if not more, is women. Some of them were men, but not because the men were witches. It's because men stood by their women and say, "Hey, my wife is not a witch." Yeah, it was really bad. It just escalated into something out of everyone's hand, and all of a sudden witches became the epicenter of something very political that we needed to unite to an evil front. Even the job as wise boys here in Sweden, where I am, became a job where people gave a coin to a homeless child and say, "Hey, could you point to my neighbor and say that she's a witch?" Witch! All of a sudden, that woman got burned because of this fucking little ass hat. Sorry for swearing again, Brando, but it is what it is. But this very annoying kid just wanted to point out and get money and food for the night while literally killing off a woman that is a very kind neighbor just because the very first woman assumed that she stole milk or something like that. That's usually the story. Um, Insane. So yeah, it escalated into something absolutely wild.
So I have actually got a figure here for you.
Yes.
So from the 14th century to the 18th century, around 50,000 people were executed for witchcraft.
Yeah.
4/5 of them were women.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely insane. The worst part is it's not over. It's actually happening today. You're saying.
Exactly. It's one of the points I've got written down right beside me is that in certain parts of the world, witch hunts still happen.
Yeah.
They're still going on. And
2026 there was a burning in Ghana and in
yes,
India. Absolutely insane.
and there are places where women who are believed to be witches are exiled
Yes.
to to certain villages that are all purely just these women that have been exiled, just
Mm.
living there.
Completely
And
ostracized. It's absolutely sickening to be honest.
exactly, and there is a lot of evidence to suggest that even the royals in the UK in the 16th century and earlier saw witchcraft as a legitimate threat.
Yes. Yes.
There's a really famous case in the 1590s in North Berwick in
Mm.
Scotland for a lady called Agnes Sampson, who,
Yes.
under torture, confessed to being a witch and using magic to raise a storm and to sink King James's ship as
Yes.
he was travelling home. And I,
One of the
as I
most
say,
famous witches out there today.
and as I say again, under torture, for anybody who can't see me, I'm doing air quotes. You
Yes.
can't. Are you like if you torture someone,
Yeah.
they are going to confess.
I
Just to
must
be
also add that is literally how any and all witches came to confess. Literally torture. The thumb screws, nails, drownings, literally anything. They would eventually break. That was the technique that they meant until like there was some actual. I mean, it was rare back in the good old times, but we had a priest here in Sweden, Uppsala, that thought, but hey, wait a minute, would they confess when it's not torture? He asked himself, and they're like, fuck, he might be right, said everyone else. And all of a sudden it stopped after he backhanded the child. But yeah, it was rare to get this critical thinking to say, maybe we shouldn't torture them to force them to say these things, and maybe just, I don't know, get evidence driven stuff. But I mean, let's be honest, I can trust this kid with my life because he pointed out someone.
also. It's very much a society, I imagine, that, and this is just from my personal understanding. It's
Mm.
not evidentially correct, but you don't want to go against the norm because if you
No.
do, you get called a witch.
Yes.
If I was to go, actually, I don't think that's right, you get called a witch.
Yes. And I
Uh,
think absolutely. And again, yeah, same here. I don't have any evidence on it, but for some of the men that was prosecuted and killed, I definitely one of those men did exactly that. I don't honestly. I don't think that's a witch. Like she gave me medicine. I'm not sick anymore. Or no, honestly, she just has 3 cows and one of them looks weird. Don't worry about it. Witch. Like okay, shit. Okay. Typical. I had to open my mouth. Dang it.
and as time what we're talking about, I think is quite would be quite interesting is the misconception around the word witch. Now, love, answer me: is witch a gendered role?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. You could be a witch whether you're a man or a woman, and witchcraft, sorcery, magic, they're all different things. None of them are the same. Witchcraft, because of how it's been conceptually made through the Hammer of the Witches and stuff like that, tends to be considered in this period a very malevolent force, a very
Yeah.
harmful force. Whereas magic is still around, but magic is considered a educated thing.
Yes.
You've got yet again your scholars learning magic. It's not that harmful magic, whereas that's what witchcraft is considered.
Mm.
Where sorcery is something completely different itself. The actual original word that sorcery was translated from was Wicca,
Yes. Yes, it
and
was.
that's how it's been turned during the witchcraft trials. That Wicca was turned used for witchcraft rather than sorcery, and sorcery is different. Love, would you be able to tell me a little bit on the difference between witchcraft and sorcery and what they are?
No, please take it away.
Cut. Let me read my note.
Go wild, my guy. Go wild.
I got it here. Wait, give me a second. I'll do another page thing for your listeners.
Oh, right, right, right. The thing is sorcery mainly from a Greek point of view word or Chinese point of word? Because I'm always getting very confused of the idea and sentencing of the word sorcery, and I think I've accidentally deep dived a little bit too hard and just got confused by the whole word of sorcery. In all honesty,
See, the source I was reading says that the English word Wicca actually comes from a 9th century manuscript, which originally means sorcerer,
mm,
which
mm,
was adapted in the
mm,
witch hunts. Um, and the differences, we'll go over this again in a second,
mm.
is that witchcraft is a form of diabolism, diabolism, diabolism.
When you worship the devil.
Exactly, diabolism, and that means the worship of evil spirits. Where
Hmm.
worldwide sorcery is the worshipping of spirits, but not exploiting them. Whereas that's what
Ah,
witchcraft is.
right. And okay, now I also see why I have gotten a little bit confused by the word sorcerer in that case. Hmm. That's fair. That's fair.
Well, anyway, we'll cut back in. We'll add that. Where did we leave? You were asking me to explain the difference between witchcraft and sorcery.
Yes.
Jumping back in, three, two, one. So I'll take it away, love. The difference between witchcraft and sorcery is that witchcraft was all about demons. It was about worshipping evil spirits, and exploiting them. Where the idea behind sorcery was that it was about worshipping spirits, but not exploiting them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is where you also find it in so many arts, uh, artist pieces from these periods. You find witches with demons, and demons are so
Hmm.
central to this belief of witchcraft, and that they're working with the devil, they're working with Lucifer. It just loses its, yet again, it becomes conceptualized and taken away.
Yeah.
The actual word Wicca, which I mentioned earlier, with the source it comes from, is a 9th century manuscript, which originally means sorcerer, but then was adapted during the witch hunts. And then it also changes again. Look at modern magic, which we will
Yeah.
get into, but yet again, witchcraft is something completely different.
Yeah.
So
But
this
Wicca
idea,
resurfaced in the 50s.
exactly, this
Oh,
idea
the
of
word. Yeah.
witchcraft and witches just change over time. So there's a quote here from Jean Bodin. Bod, Bodin, yeah, which is, a witch is someone who knowingly tries to accomplish something through diabolical means,
Hmm.
and that is a 1580s saying and
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah. Sounds like my mom, but details.
I'll get into that in this podcast.
Yep.
Now, going into our next, thank you, love, for that brilliant description of a sort of magic in the witchcraft. Charles, is your cat doing hoodoo again?
No, I think that's my dog doing some conjure work, trying to get me out there.
Do you need to check on your animals? All good?
Nah, we're all good. We're all good. Wife is out there, as far as I know. Might not be a dog. Who knows what that is?
Bear with me.
Just so you know, we are on 59 minutes right now.
Ah, well, to be fair, we've done a lot of chatting, so I imagine once we cut all that out,
We
we'd
might have
actually
a minute,
be about right.
an hour, 45 minutes ish.
Yeah, yes, I'm not too worried.
Yeah, that's
This,
nice.
this
That's nice.
next this next bit's gonna be very general.
Okay. Yep.
So, I'm just reading what I've got. I
Do
promise
some
I have.
shaking of the papers, please. There we go. Thank you.
I need to come on your one of your lives and just do that the entire
Oh
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, here's a fact. Go. Thank you.
Uh, where is the age? I've got when it's made. There we go. So, cutting back in now. So, something that I also wanted to talk about was magic in the 20th century. Now,
Yes.
I've actually started a little bit earlier here. It's gone around 1880s with the creation of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Fair.
Now,
Fair.
this is essentially a Western group who originally offered a complex scholarly program which was very centered around spiritual growth. But actually, in its earliest form, only lasted 15 years, which I think is quite interesting. But
Weak.
you still see these different groups all pop up through the 20th century around spiritualism. And I find it really interesting as well as that looking at a few of them, this idea of ritual practice comes back in.
Mhm.
This idea of very heavy ritual based practice going back to Egyptian times and Mesopotamian times and
Yep.
focusing on these older ancient
Hmm.
ideas comes back into play in the 20th century, which just shows, like fashion, everything comes around again.
God dang it. I mean, I do like that analogy, but honestly, you are so not wrong. I will talk about that later as well. But yes, absolutely. It everything just goes fucking around. Oof.
And for the Order of the Golden Dawn, the idea of the rituals was to have this spiritual awakening, to invoke angels, archangels, gods, goddesses, and elemental spirits. It's to become a higher being, to lift yourself up to this new level. And even to the point where there were actually three different spheres of consciousness to get to this higher place. So in the Order of the Golden Dawn, there was three places. One was a psychic world called the Golden Dawn. The second one was the Red Rose and the Cross of Gold, which is where practical magic began. And then the third was the world of the divine, the secret chiefs. And you'd work your way up there. Now, something I do like about the Order of the Golden Dawn, is that they were quite unique in their views to the point where they saw men and women as equal.
Yeah.
And actually,
Quite early
they
for
had
their take, to be honest.
exactly, they were quite early, but it also had some really famous members. So it had Bram Stoker, the
Okay.
Dracula author, had Arthur Conan Doyle, it
Hmm.
had Annie Hornman, and then it also had the painter Monier Bergson, who later became High Priestess.
Damn, I didn't know that. Shit. Respect.
And actually, quite interestingly as well, the order is still quite recent. It survived all the way up to the 1970s,
Hmm.
which
I
is,
mean, honestly, I would still argue that they are still active today. They just don't happen to. It's kind of bloat about it. Um,
I know, I imagine,
yeah.
like most groups like this, they split into their own branches as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, another thing I find quite interesting, especially with 20th century magic, is you find this rise of mass media.
Hmm.
So not only is magic and ritual practice and this kind of thing highly spiritual, but it becomes a highly entertainable
Hmm.
thing.
Yes.
But this also means that magic people become quite a famous thing.
Hmm.
And you see these magic people pop up. So, for example, Rasputin
Yes.
in Russia,
Yeah.
he obviously pops up as this magic healer who can heal anything,
Hmm.
and this really spiritual being. You find this sort of across the road. So, one of the most famous British occultists over here, obviously Alistair Crowley.
Yep.
he really pops up through, and he was actually originally a member of the Golden Dawn,
I'm not entirely surprised, to be honest. Not entirely surprised.
and it was said that he was only a member because he wanted to gain the rights and the ideas and the rituals from it.
Fair.
But there was a quote which I really enjoyed, which was that apparently it was basically stating that he was the wickedest man on earth.
I can see it.
Yeah. But he drew on many different esoteric beliefs
Hmm.
from Kabbalah, Gautier, and many others. He wasn't just about one, he brought them all in together
Hmm.
and created the Thelmic religion. Am I
Yes.
pronouncing that right? Thelmic?
S- Thelemic or thelmic or whatever. It really depends on the country, to be honest with that one.
Yeah. And so my listeners will have to understand with the speech problem,
Yep.
words aren't easy, especially when you're studying magic.
Yeah, God knows. Oof.
Though I also find it really interestingly the reasons he had for doing this. So Aleister Crowley believed he was actually visited by an archangel,
Hmm.
which is quite interesting, and he wanted to bring about the third world view essentially of
Yeah.
Thermic religion and bring it into the next understanding.
And the paper rustling. Oof.
Sorry, I'm just going to get my next page of notes up.
I can add a bit of ASMR to myself as well. Ah, good ASMR right there. Nice.
So, 3, 2, 1. Aleister Crowley had long delighted in his scandals. A lot of his rituals were actually hypersexual,
Yes.
and he believed that that actually gave off a massive energy, essentially. But for the time of pious Victorian Britain, all this scandal,
Yeah.
it made him very famous. But also, probably did what he wanted to do. They always say no press is bad press.
I was
That's
just
exactly
about
the
to
case
say
of
that.
Aleister Crowley.
But yeah.
Yeah. Now, in the 1920s, he built the Abbey of Felmer in Sicily, and he built it as a spiritual community and for ritual magics. Now, something that obviously you won't see because this is an audio podcast, is that Aleister Crowley actually understood that the times were changing and that magic was becoming entertainment, and that people started to see magic as sleight of hand,
Hmm.
as conjuration, a bit like a Houdini, a bit like card tricks. So he actually changed, in his terms, magic, and that's where you find magic with the spelling of the CK,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
he wanted to differentiate between the entertainment side of magic and the magic that you see
Yeah.
today. Now, even though he did die, he has died. The Thelmatic beliefs and religion is still practiced today.
Yes.
Moving on to a little bit later, it was also, and I find this, I keep saying I find things really interesting.
No,
I'm
but
going,
you
oh,
do, so you're not wrong.
it's all fascinating.
Yes.
No, right, 3, 2, 1. Moving on after the sort of groups, the famous magic groups, you get to this idea that we're living in a modern Britain. We're living in a Britain that magic isn't really a thing anymore, and the occult isn't really thought of. But this isn't actually necessarily true. I was saying to Love earlier, one of my favourite cases I've ever found. Obviously, it's not very nice. It's not a very nice case, but the last woman to be arrested under the Witchcraft Act of 1735 was in 1944.
Yeah.
That's not even 100 years ago. And the lady herself was called Helen Duncan, and the story was that basically she was communicating with soldiers who had died during the war and telling their families before the army had even released that information. And there are documents from very high up authoritative figures, so MI5, MI6, whichever one it is. There are documents where there are actual proof saying that they were watching Helen, trying to understand where she was getting her information from. You were telling me earlier, Love, that it was 1970 the
Yeah.
last
Here
woman
in
accused
Sweden,
of
yeah.
witchcraft in Sweden.
Yeah, incarcerated, nothing worse than that, but still, though, way too close to home, I'd argue.
But it's something that was still considered a threat.
Yes.
People were still worried by it. It's never gone away. This idea of the occult and the magic and the spiritual, it's always with us. And this leads us into our very next conversation, which is modern magic.
Hmm.
Now, Love, I think you agree with me from what we've both seen recently in the modern time is that people, it's very much having a renaissance.
Yes,
People are coming
absolutely.
back to magic. They're coming
100%.
back for this idea of belief that they hope that there's something there so they can be better. This
Yes.
idea of a better world, a bit like the folk renaissance, where
Yes.
people wanted to think of a simpler time.
Yes. And you can see that through various studies and everything like that as well. Usually, when it comes problematic times, and right now there are several wars about like the Iran-Iraq. There's the Israel thing. There's the Ukrainian-Russian thing. It's God knows what the U.S. is doing, but it's no fucking joke. No matter how much of a caricature Trump is, it's a very, very serious threat. And definitely for people living in the US, obviously, when problematic times come, you wish for better. All along comes witchcraft and trying to take things in your own hands, no matter if you can take things in your physical hands, kind of thing. That's how it goes. It's well a studied thing. But yeah, should I take it away with more modern magic then?
Please do, my friend.
Lovely. So naturally, with magic and witchcraft and all of these things, it is having a resurgence. Um, And we already talked about Wicca, that how it resurfaced again as a word, and Gardner kind of created the Wiccan practice in the US, became more popularized in the 70s, it became a closed practice, and now today it's the only thing that you can find on Google. If you were to Google witchcraft, it's Wiccan. Literally anything you get is Wiccan. Unless you know your stuff and you actually know how to use Google, you start specifying your searches rather than which candle should I use for this spell. Um, you will get Wiccan if you Google that. If you ask what candle should I do for my worship offering to goddess Apollo, and then you will get more specific answers because I mean Apollo doesn't really have candles and blah blah. Blah. You get to know more. Alongside that, we also have more modernized ideas that is always marketed as the most ancient magic ever. Like, for example, the Wiccan practice. It's the most ancient magic ever. And then you have chaos magic, the most ancient magic ever. Draconic magic, the most ancient. Like, you get it. It's all marketed as this most oldest thing ever. And when people start studying, they're like, hey, wait a minute, that actually makes sense. We can see the stories, we can see the myths, we can see the spells and everything like that. It's literally, it's old as God knows who, but it is old, old. But now all of a sudden we have this name, an author on a book that says, okay, but Draconic magic kind of surfaced around the 90s. But the majority of cultures and histories and mythos have some kind of dragon. Sure, India had a dragon that looked like a horse. That's kind of strange. Here in Sweden, we had a snake. It just happened to be a very big snake. China has, or most Eastern Asian cultures have these snake-like dragons that are usually gods of rivers and waterbeds. And then we come to the more British ones that had big wings and more like drakes, and like the dragon is everywhere. But now it's one practice because I believe the ancestors of dragons were real and spirits and like the power and natural forces of stuff. But now we come into somewhere closer to 2010s, and chaos magic is kind of getting more into it. There are a few ways to look at witchcraft today. It's definitely the singular one. I'm a practitioner and I do Wiccan. I'm a practitioner and I do Christian. I'm a practitioner and I do this and only this, practically. Then you have the eclectic take on it, where you do, oh yeah, I like this. I put that in my little bucket over here. Oh, I like that god. I would like to work with that. Oh, that's another god from another practice. Lovely. I put that, this is my lovely little bucket now. And then you have the chaos practice today. But first, before we go into that kind of bucket, we have chaos practice in the 90s. It was something closer to quantum physics, where you actually had rules, how things worked, how things moved. You kind of understood the molecule and movement and energy and intention of what you did. It just did not have a very religious take on the whole thing. Now, moving on, just about 20 years later, you shuck things in a fucking bucket and then you shuck the fucking bucket and hope for the best. That is chaos magic today. While there was swearing in there, Brandon, it's fairly instructive, I feel. But like from where we used to heal people with herbs, now chaos practitioner curse other people with a PlayStation controller. Like that's what some people do, you know. It turned into this. We're kind of reverting back not only to the religious side of. I mean, obviously, we do have the religious side of all things. There are so many modern witches, wizards, and warlocks out there that work with gods, deities, spirits, and whatever. They have a patron, they have someone they work for or work with at the very least. But then you have the chaos practitioners that is becoming more focused. Um, they're getting a little bit out of hand.
In
um,
what way, love?
yes. What?
In what way?
In what way? So chaos practitioners kind of start disrespecting most things. We are seeing the resurgence of like, okay, cool, that's a god, but this is a PlayStation controller. You can't touch me. Like, okay, cool, but at the same time, chaos practitioners is reverting back to the very old thing when we were talking about ancient practice, when it was more rituals, when it was more observational, the things that were around us, the spirits, the trees. Now we happen to have the observational skill of, oh yeah, a computer mouse. I can use this for a curse, a spell, jinx, a healing, whatever it may be. We are kind of reverting back to this whole observational skill of ritualistic magic because I sure can, you know? It's kind of cool how it turned the most chaotic thing ever and turn it more modernized. We all of a sudden got, with technology as well, we got technomancy, people coding and doing emoji spells. And that is a part of the big umbrella term of chaos magic, which is kind of turning into the most modern idea of what witchcraft is today. It's really cool, but that is truly the resurgence. Like, yes, I like that god. Yes, I like that god. But you know what? I hope his dick falls off, and then you like start cursing people with PlayStation controllers, and it gets very specific. It gets weirdly specific. So yeah, it's resurging as both observational as well as super chaotic in a problematic way, where it's yes disrespecting culture as well as respecting culture at the same time. It's not called chaos magic for nothing.
But thank you for that, and I completely get it. As you know me, I'm a practitioner in Norse
Mm-hmm.
beliefs and magic, so I tend to work with the Norse gods
Yes.
when I do anything. For you, it's I think there is a central. Is there a central figure for you, or is that
No,
that's my
honestly,
understanding?
for me, it's whoever wants to work with me, whoever wants to answer me. I work with them. I leave the door open for literally anything. Everything has a different reason for stuff. Obviously, I do work with more specific things like Thoth, uh, god of information and history and math in the Kemetichism. I just love information. Like I treat that as my main religion. I'm a massive nerd.
Nothing
So
wrong with being a nerd. We all that's why we're here.
exactly.
So thank you, love. It's been an amazing. I imagine just over an hour once we've edited this episode.
Yes, hour and
Um,
15 minutes. 17.
exactly.
18.
Now,
No.
obviously, this won't all be in the podcast because I have got to limit it to a certain time.
Yes.
But if you are interested, Love's going to drop his socials in a minute. So you can actually go and watch it on his YouTube. And there will be the full unedited version of this
Yes.
where
The
nothing will be
raw
cut.
stuff.
Which is a laugh. Me and Love, and we always have a great time filming these
Yes.
podcasts because we aren't just two blokes talking about magic and
Yes.
how it interferes with their
Best
life.
topic.
Exactly. But so thank you all for listening, everybody. So the very next episode that I'm going to focus on is going to be a deep dive, and it's going to be a deep dive on Norse and Scandinavian magic. So if you were listening and you realise, oh wait a minute, you've gone from 400 400 AC 400 AC after Christ. Is that right? Uh,
I mean, that is when it's kind of popping into reality with trolldom and all of that stuff. So it kind of checks out.
yeah, is AC the right term? I
I've
did write it
never
down.
used AC for any of my papers. I gotta be honest with that. I've never done that.
what is that term? I
I
did write
just
it down.
say in the year of our Lord. Naturally,
Uh,
when I write, I
yeah,
can't.
yeah, naturally. Well, okay, we'll go for that then, love.
Yes.
Start again. So, anybody who realizes that you've gone from in the year of our Lord 400 to all the way up to early Anglo-Saxon, we've missed hundreds and hundreds of years
Naturally.
of magic history. I am doing a deep dive next on Norse and Scandinavian magic, and that will cover some of those hundreds of years. We've then also got the history and the myths of krakens, dragons, and phoenixes coming up,
Nice.
which I'm really looking forward to. We did a blinder on our Griffin episode, so do come back and listen to that. And then we're also going to be looking into early learned Renaissance magic, and then actually folklore. Start to dig into some of the folklores and how they're used. So, for example, with how Tintagel uses the myths and legends around King Arthur is something I'm going to go into. And then for the final episode of the podcast, we are going to do a whole episode on modern magic
Oh.
and the different groups and how it's seen.
Oh.
So, if you want to follow me, you can find this podcast on Substack. I also have an Instagram and TikTok under Old World Magic. Love, do you want to drop yours in?
Mine is Lord.Cairnmark on all social media. Simple as that.
Amazing. So, thank you, love, for this great episode. And I hope everybody's enjoyed listening. And catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye. Cut. I'm just
Do you
gonna.
know what? I nearly hung up then when I said goodbye.
But yeah, click.